The following takes place between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. on July 3rd, 3.5 days after the start of NBA free agency.
Woke up quick at about noon.
I don't even know that it is 3.5 days. It's like 2.5 days. Well, when did it start? Sunday? Sunday to Monday? Monday to Tuesday? So it's like 3 days, maybe 3-ish. Welcome into the podcast with Damian Barling. I am Damian Barling, presented by Vibe Health Bar, Sacramento's premier superfood cafe with locations in East Sacramento, Oak Park, and Folsom. Vibe Health Bar is where busy people go to achieve vibrant health. Stalk us for more information at Vibe Health Bar. We have long wondered where the most coveted free agent in this class would land, and that answer is the Golden State Warriors. Of course, I'm talking about former Sacramento King Willie Cauley Stein. Plenty of reaction to that on the way. I've said all week we're going to have a difficult conversation about the Western Conference, and I was going through each team's additions and subtractions and all of that. Well, maybe it's not quite as difficult as I may have initially thought. Many of you weighed in as well, and you can weigh in today, 916-888-5898. That's our 24/7 text line. We're open on holidays, so if you're setting off fireworks or you're having a couple of drinks, couple of beers, couple of cocktails, whatever it is, and you need to send a drunk text, hey, send it here, 916-888-5898. Still no word with that homage to 24 here at the beginning of the show. Still, as we begin talking on this Wednesday, no word about what Kawhi Leonard is doing, and I have some thoughts on that coming up here in just a minute. We'll get to Willie Cauley Stein in just a minute. I want to start with the U.S. women's national team. They advanced to the Women's World Cup final on Sunday, beat England yesterday 2-1. That was a lot of fun to watch. Alex Morgan with the game-winning goal. Tremendous goaltending play there in the final moments. 24 goals scored in the 2019 World Cup. They're one shy of the record at a single World Cup. Of course, they're going to have the opportunity to set or to tie and break that record coming up on Sunday when they face the winner of the Netherlands-Sweden matchup, which is going to be going on today. Again, that matchup was a lot of fun to watch. Scoring early, which I think helps in soccer matches. And the ball frequently being in scoring position. Sometimes it feels like the ball, if you're watching a soccer matchup, and I think this is where sometimes soccer, when it's not the World Cup or even when it's not the Olympics, it starts to lose people. It feels like the ball is just kind of sitting, to use and I don't know how people say this on the soccer field, but to use a basketball term, it's kind of free throw line to free throw line. There's nothing near the goal. That wasn't the case last night. There was all sorts of, or yesterday, Alex Morgan's celebration. Boy, America's celebrations have sure gotten a lot of attention here in this World Cup. I'm fascinated by this. Is it because they're women? Or is it because they're Americans and, people kind of hate Americans, like even America hates America right now? Like, what is, I've never heard so much conversation about the way a team celebrates goals. Is it because the U.S. women are actually good at this? I'm not sure. Like, if the men were good enough to be celebrating goals and celebrating going to the World Cup final, would their celebrations be a conversation? Would they be a conversation around the world the same way that they are with the women? Now, I'm not trying to turn this into some, high power feminist movement. I just find it fascinating. How many times has the women's celebrations been brought into a conversation during this World Cup alone? Oh, well, they started out the cup. I can't remember who they beat, but they beat them by too many points. And then they were celebrating. What was it, 13-0, 11-0, something like that? Oh, they beat them by too many points. Oh, that's a thing? Like, you're supposed to stop scoring goals in soccer? Oh. Alex Morgan sipping the tea there against England. Oh, that's just uncalled for. Really? Huh. Okay. Are we just go shake everybody's hands, or are we going to go back to what we did in the second game and we just do the golf clap when goals are scored? I've never seen so much. I mean, dudes run around screaming all the time. It is good to know this, and this is why I believe there's a number of reasons why women should be paid the exact same amount of the men. And in probably the soccer's cases, women should be paid more because they're significantly better and arguably more popular in this country. But they fake injuries just as well as the major soccer players. I saw at least 6 torn ACLs yesterday, maybe even a popped Achilles, and they all recovered. They all recovered. What's wrong with Klay Thompson getting surgery? Kevin Durant missing the NBA Finals. These women are tearing ligaments, tearing muscles, tearing everything, and they're getting right back up and playing. Or at least that's what it appears when they fall on the floor and they clutch a specific body part as if they had just been shot until, a specific colored card comes out. See, that their acting abilities are equally as good as the men, if not better. Because I think women can cry faster than men. See, men don't want to cry out on the field. But if you really want to sell an injury, you can get some tears welled up there. And then that card comes out and boom, miraculously, they're better back on their feet running up and down the field. Pay these women. They're every bit as good actors as the men are. Can't wait for the World Cup final on Sunday. Let's move on to Willie Cauley Stein here. This was a topic of discussion with Kings Twitter. This was a topic of discussion with many of Kings fans. And really, it was a topic of discussion with us. I thought Willie Cauley Stein was going to be one of those guys who would find a landing spot after Kawhi Leonard makes his announcement public. We have no idea when that's going to be. We don't even know if Kawhi Leonard has made a decision. We know absolutely nothing in regards to Kawhi Leonard. And again, we'll get to that in just a moment. But we know that Willie Cauley Stein is not leaving the state of California. He's headed to the Bay Area. He's going to play with the Golden State Warriors. He joins a front court that has Damian Jones. He joins a front court that has Kevon Looney. Of course, Jordan Bell. He's off to Minnesota. So we're looking at Willie, Kevon Looney, and Damian Jones. Kevon Looney traditionally, and unless he's forced into otherwise, is a bench player. Steve Kerr has acknowledged that he likes him in that role. He likes for him to play 25 minutes a game coming off the bench. Many times you'll see Kevon Looney there in the final minutes of a Golden State Warrior game. But Willie Cauley Stein has an opportunity to start here for a Golden State Warrior team that's going to look significantly different than anything we've seen during their 5-year run. Of course, Kings fans were poking fun at the fact that it appears he signed for something near the league minimum. Just playing with the words there, that was reported by ESPN. I'm going to assume league minimum, I think, for a player of his time in the league is about 1.6. Zach Lowe reported it was a little bit more than the league minimum. So what are we saying? Between 1.6 and what, 2.2? Okay. Yeah, it's a far cry from the guy who started training camp talking about he wants to get money, he wants to get paid, he wants to do, and then he came out and, I've always said it's never good when an athlete has to come out and clarify something that he said. That means whatever has happened since the time he said what he said has gone poorly. Nobody has ever said something of a positive nature and had to come out and clarify it. Nobody has ever said anything that has been received really, really well by the fan base and has had to come back and clarify it. Where Willie had to come back and clarify his remarks talking about, well, I want to do what it takes to earn that big max contract. And I can't remember who it was that got, they got an $80 to $100 million contract at the beginning of the year. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I want to go out there. I want to get that bag. I want to earn that big money. And Kings fans looked at that like, bruh, don't do that. One, Kings fans hate conversations about money. Two, understandably, there hadn't been a lot of consistent play from Willie Cauley Stein. Now, I'm going to attempt to play both sides of the fence here. Willie never had a clearly defined role, in my opinion, with the Sacramento Kings. I think we had run through this sometime last week. The number of games that he has played in his career, the number of games that he has started in his career. This season, if there was ever an opportunity for Willie to earn big money and for Willie to earn the trust of the Sacramento Kings front office and for Willie to earn the love, I guess, of Sacramento Kings fans, it was this year. He was written in as the starter. And he played 81 games. He missed one towards the end of the regular season. He played 81 games. He started all 81 of them. That's one of the more fascinating things to me is that an 81-game starter couldn't get above a league minimum. Okay, let me rephrase that because I think it's dangerous to say he couldn't get above a league minimum deal because I'm a bit unclear as to if Willie took the league minimum because he wanted to play with the Golden State Warriors. He knew it was a fit, and he knew he had the ability to start there, or if he was offered more, or if it's the only deal that was there. And so I tried to poke around at this a little bit yesterday. I texted good buddy Nate Duncan, Dunked On podcast, very much worth checking out. Great follow on Twitter as well. Very analytical mind, very connected to the NBA, knows a lot about cap, knows a lot about how all this stuff is done. And I had texted him. The initial question I had asked him was, with a qualifying offer. So this is where I think Willie's agent failed him, unless he desperately wanted to get out of Sacramento. His agent should have been aware of what the market looked like for him. And at what, let's just for argument's sake say it's $2 million, because we know it's a bit above the league minimum. The league minimum for his amount of years is 1.6. So let's just say it's $2 million. He had an offer sheet. He has a qualifying offer from the Sacramento Kings at 6 point something. What I tried to find out yesterday is if Rock Nation knew the market like right away from the moment they said, Willie doesn't, we hope that the Kings don't extend a qualifying offer. We just all need a fresh start. Kings need a fresh start. Willie needs a fresh start. All of that stuff. Could they have signed if they knew that the market was bare and they knew nothing was out there, and I'm talking about Willie and Rock Nation, and they knew that he wasn't going to make $6 million, could they have snatched that qualifying offer, signed it, and the Kings have been stuck with him? And the answer is yes. I wasn't sure if the qualifying offer was like an actual contract or if it was just one of those deals where here's the qualifying offer. If you sign this sheet, that enters us into, the first rights of negotiation. Nope. The qualifying offer is essentially a contract. Here it is. It's in front of you. You make the decision to sign it or not sign it. If they had signed it, Willie would be making $6 million this year. I have to assume Rock Nation knew that the market was bare for him. Now, I thought along the way, and I really talked about this for months. And so I think I talked about it all season because Willie Cauley Stein was a conversation all season. I thought there were multiple fits out there for him. I thought New York was a fit, but there was rumors of Demarcus Cousins. And when that didn't happen, they signed up every other, C and D tier big in the league. And it's like, okay, Willie can't start or even play for the New York Knicks? Okay. The other one I thought, and I'm still convinced this would have worked great, are the Portland Trailblazers. I thought the Portland Trailblazers would have been a great fit. Then they got involved in a multi-team trade that landed them Hassan Whiteside. It's like, okay, Portland went with Hassan Whiteside instead of Willie Cauley Stein. And as we got into those trades and things became final and we started seeing the shuffling of players here, by the middle of Monday, I started to realize I don't know what Willie's going to get. I don't know if Willie's going to sign with anyone. And then we get word yesterday from Marcus Thompson of The Athletic that Willie is headed to Oakland and he's headed there on a near league minimum deal. So I don't know if Willie was just prepared to take that cut and pay. I don't know if his agents got bad information. I did ask specifically about a couple of teams. The two things that I heard, I had told you I thought Boston was a possibility. Or I thought Boston made sense because he had the ability to start there. It's kind of the same reason I thought Portland made sense. And I guess ultimately it's the same reason that Golden State makes sense for him. He has the ability to start on all three of those organizations. But I was texting with Nate asking about specific teams, and one of the responses I got on a specific team was they don't like him. He was never on their radar. They had a discussion about him. They decided he didn't fit what they do there in terms of the type of player that they want, and that's just not someone higher on their list. The other thing that I found out is that no one across the league ever believed Willie's market would be above $5 million. And I was surprised by that as well. His qualifying offer was 6. If I was able to find this out, if I was able to find out this information from a capologist, a guy who has his front office insiders around the league, were his agents able to find this out? And were they just willing to? I mean, maybe money's not important, and I know everybody thinks Willie has this kind of eccentric personality. Maybe Willie doesn't care. Maybe that drop from 6 to 4 or 6 to 2, isn't that big of a deal for him. And if so, God bless him. He's the 6th overall pick in the draft, so he had a nice rookie contract that played out through, 4 years or whatever it is, and now he's on his way to Golden State on a significantly less deal. And he's on his way to Golden State. Now he's on his way to a team where if Steve Kerr really does like Kevon Looney coming off the bench, he's going to – I think Willie Cauley Stein is going to beat out Damian Jones for the starting position. Damian Jones has got to stay healthy, but I'm convinced he can beat Damian Jones. I think higher of Willie than a lot of other people do. I don't think he's a bad player. I know I saw a great text. I think it was from Whitey Gleason. It was kind of like a dear Warriors fans. Enjoy Willie Cauley Stein. There's a lot you're going to love about him. And then in parentheses, it says there's also a lot you're going to hate about him. And I think that's the thing with Willie Cauley Stein. That's why he wasn't able to secure a big deal here with the Sacramento Kings, is he couldn't be consistent. You never knew what you were going to get on a night-to-night basis from Willie Cauley Stein. And you can go back to the first game after the Demarcus Cousins trade. Everybody had said, well, with DeMarcus gone, because remember, let's not change the narrative here. Remember, Willie Cauley Stein wasn't growing as a player because of DeMarcus Cousins. Remember that. That was the narrative. It was DeMarcus's fault that Willie wasn't growing as a player. And then DeMarcus leaves. He heads to New Orleans. Willie Cauley Stein gets to start. First game out the gate, and it's like 21-15. Kings get a win. They're half a game out of the playoff spot, and DeMarcus Cousins is gone. They're half game out of the 8th spot in the playoffs after the All-Star break. And then it all went to hell. It all went to hell for the Sacramento Kings. And then Willie was just up and down, not only through the remainder of that season, but through the rest of his time with Sacramento. He was all over the place. Sometimes he was starting, sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes he was 20-12, sometimes he wasn't. He had a fantastic start to last season. Go back and look at what Willie did. Willie was everything you dreamed he would be at the start of last season. 21-10, 22-12, 24-10, all at the beginning of the year. And then fell off a little bit. Didn't have another 20-point game, I think for a couple of months. I know we did all of the numbers about how many 20-point games he had and how many double-digit rebound games he had, and it was very first half of the season front-loaded. Now, you could speculate he fell off. You could speculate that the team fell off, or you could speculate that he stopped caring. I'm never going to say that a professional athlete who goes out there and plays, night after night after night, doesn't care. It's hard for me to believe that a guy that was in the starting lineup through 81 games didn't care. And I know some Kings fans hated his demeanor. I know some Kings fans hated his body language. I don't question whether Willie Cauley Stein played hard on a night-to-night basis. I do question why the hell Willie Cauley Stein could get up for an incredible highlight alley-oop, but couldn't get up to block a shot, or couldn't get up to get an offensive or a defensive rebound. He should have been, the way he started the season last year, he should have been nothing less than a 15-10 guy. Now, he was slightly below. I mean, his scoring average really fell off in the second half. I don't even know where it ended, but I know he finished at like 8 rebounds per game, which, by the way, isn't terrible. But I think it was ultimately the inconsistency of Willie Cauley Stein that just made the Kings part ways with him. And when you look at the players that they brought in Rashawn Holmes and Dwayne Dedmon, they're the opposite. Bell to bell, floor to floor, bucket to bucket, like they're high energy guys. They get up. I mean, most of Rashawn Holmes' highlights are on the defensive end. Like, he can get up and block. He'll get up for an alley-oop the same way he gets up for a block shot. Or I probably should have reversed that. He'll get up for the block shot the same way he gets up for the alley-oop. But I'm not anti-Willie, man. I like Willie Cauley Stein. I wish him the best. I hope he does well. I think he's going to succeed there. I think he's in a good system now when you got D'Angelo Russell coming in. Again, it's going to look a lot different. And I think when we start talking about the Western Conference here in a few minutes, that's kind of the thing. Like, we're afraid of change. Like, most people, they don't like change. They're afraid of it. It's out of their comfort zone. Well, when we look at this Golden State Warriors team, it's different. It's change. We're out of our comfort zone, if you will, with this Golden State Warriors team, because it looks so different than what we've seen over the course of the last 5 years. Even before Kevin Durant got there, Well, there was always Klay Thompson. Like the Warriors were built on the backs of the Splash Brothers. And then, of course, Draymond Green there. Well, Draymond Green is still there, and that seems to have been forgotten in all this. Draymond Green is still very much there. Kevin Durant's gone. Klay Thompson is out for a while. Probably a long while, but he's out. You're bringing in a very capable scorer in D'Angelo Russell, and I know we gave you these stats along with Kemba Walker, and I'm missing somebody, but it was Kemba Walker, D'Angelo Russell, and one other player who, like, they came off picks 3,000 times last year, more than any other players in the league. Well, Marcus Thompson, one of the things he was talking about was there's going to be a change in approach for the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to run a lot more pick and roll than they're used to. They're going to run a lot more pick and roll than Steve Kerr usually implements into the system, and they're going to be able to do that because of Willie Cauley Stein and because of two guys on the outside who could shoot. And if all else fails, oh, by the way, you still got Draymond Green there. And I'm still of the mindset that Draymond Green took a step back for the better success of the Golden State Warriors. Because everybody has to. Every super team has a player that has to take a step back. It was Bosh, it was Kevin Love, and I think with the addition of Kevin Durant that it was Draymond Green. So now Draymond Green can step back forward, especially with Klay Thompson out, and now you can work with D'Angelo Russell. And by the way, you think if you really believe that Willie Cauley Stein is, lackadaisical, he doesn't try hard, he doesn't play hard, you think he's going to be able to get away with that with Draymond Green on the floor? And I'm not talking about in a game. I'm talking about in practice. You think he's going to be able to practice those habits that some of you think that he has with Draymond Green out on the floor? Because if he does, if Willie does if he does have an issue with energy, if he does have an issue with effort, that's going to be corrected real quick. Because if Draymond Green is willing to get into the face of Kevin Durant, if Draymond Green is willing to get in the face of his head coach, you don't think he'll get in the face of Willie Cauley Stein the second he starts dragging? I'm quite confident he will. Willie, the number 6th overall pick. Vladdy's first pick, by the way, as a general manager. Just keep that in your back of the head. Keep that in the back of your head as we move forward here. It never really worked out for him, and he couldn't have started this season on a more sour note. I like this pickup for the Warriors, and I like this pickup for Willie Cauley Stein. I think it's a good situation for both of them. And again, I wish Willie well. I'm not going to laugh at him for wanting. I mean, him talking about money was a mistake. Him talking about money publicly and his desire. Some players can do that. Some can't. Willie is not of the caliber where you should do that. And some would argue no players should talk about, well, I want that $100 million contract. Sometimes you have to posture for your organization. If Willie was advised to posture for the Sacramento Kings, he was advised poorly. If Willie was advised that there was going to be a big market for him when he hit free agency, he was advised poorly. Speaking of, we got alert right near the start of this show. Mark Stein had reported that Willie Cauley Stein, we had just gotten reports before the show started that Demarcus Cousins is changing agents. There's been a lot of talk about Demarcus Cousins. This started, I think, with Adrian Wojnarowski yesterday, asked directly, because Demarcus is, after Kawhi Leonard, the biggest name that's out there on free agency. And most people believe if Kawhi Leonard picks anybody except the Los Angeles Lakers, that's where Demarcus Cousins is going to wind up. If Kawhi picks the Clippers, DeMarcus to the Lakers. If Kawhi picks the Raptors, DeMarcus to the Lakers. Well, what happens if Kawhi goes to the Lakers? Now, a couple of people have reported that there have been discussions within the Clippers organization about DeMarcus Cousins, but nothing serious. And is somebody going to panic? Is one of those teams that didn't get Kawhi Leonard going to think, okay, well, we've got to add something. We can get DeMarcus Cousins, and we can probably get him, we can get him really cheap. How cheap? That's going to be the question, because he signed last year for $5 million. I can't imagine he's going to sign for less than that, but I can't imagine he's going to sign for much more than that either. He's on another year of prove it to me. And he, have a statement coming up from Ezekiel Elliott about being on his best behavior. Man, you talk about needing to be on your best behavior. That's Demarcus Cousins. He's got to smile. He's going to have to fake it for an entire. If he really is a surly old bastard who is cranky about everything, man, he's going to have to put on that happy tree, happy face. He's going to have to run around smiling, kissing play-by-play announcers on the cheek. He's just going to have to grin, do interviews, and just be as happy can be. Because he's going to have to figure out some way to earn some money following this year. Because I don't see a situation where he signs a multi-year deal. I thought if he was going to sign a multi-year deal, it was probably going to be with the team in the Eastern Conference. It doesn't look like that's even available for him anymore. So he's switching agents here after the market dries up. There's still no word about what Kawhi Leonard is doing. And the more Kawhi Leonard waits, the longer Demarcus Cousins waits. And even after Kawhi signs, again, if Kawhi signs with the Lakers, I don't know when we get an announcement on Willie Cauley Stein. If Kawhi goes anywhere else, I think we hear shortly thereafter that Demarcus Cousins is headed to Los Angeles. Though I still have to wonder how Anthony Davis feels about that. I don't think what we've heard about their relationship is 100% accurate. I don't think things were all rosy there in New Orleans. I think Anthony Davis said all of the right things after Demarcus Cousins got injured. I think Anthony Davis said all of the right things after Demarcus Cousins left, but I don't think I don't buy it. I heard enough. I heard enough there where I don't believe it. And as we continue to sit here and wait on Kawhi Leonard, I think back to, because there's all of these, 2 nights ago, Kawhi as a Laker was trending because some kid who's an NBA insider said sources have told him that Kawhi Leonard has made his decision and he's informed the Clippers that he was not going to play for them. And his decision has already been made, despite the fact he hadn't met with the Raptors yet. And all of these, and then Michael Rappaport, because he's obviously the be-all, end-all to NBA news. He tweets, "Hey, you didn't hear it from me first, but I'm the only one you need to hear it from. Kawhi is a Laker." Like, okay, I don't know what makes you even remotely credible in this conversation, but fine. And it got to trend and it got to be a thing. And it's like, okay. And I think back to his time in San Antonio, and I think back to his injury. And week after week after week, we used to have Sam Amick on every Wednesday. And it got to a certain point in the season after the All-Star break where it was like, Sammy, like, when's Kawhi coming back? And Sam was always honest. He was like, man, I don't know. We can't seem to get a ton of information on this. Yet, week after week after week after week, you would hear reports from other so-called insiders who would say, oh, Kawhi's going to look to be back on this day versus this team. Oh, someone within Kawhi's camp said he's going to be back on this day against this team. All of the information is different. The only people that were being honest were the ones who were like, yeah, we don't know. Kawhi's camp appears to be impenetrable. You can't get information from them. And that's a good thing. Like, I mean, if I was a professional athlete making decisions like this, that's sure as hell how I would want it to be. You can't get information from that group. So anyone saying, oh, it's a done deal, or oh, it's a near done deal, or oh, it's all but signed, that he's going to sign with either of the 3 teams, but the one that we keep hearing about is the Lakers. The least credible people are the ones who keep saying it's the Lakers. And they're all doing this, and they're hedging their bets by saying, oh, there's a little bit of doubt. There's some things going on. We'll have to wait and see. They all hedge their bets. We went over this with Chris Broussard the other day. He's the worst, but he's not the only. And then that way, if it winds up being the Los Angeles Lakers, they can jump out there and say, see, I told you. We told you weeks ago. I was told by someone within ... that he was going to sign with ... 6 days ago. All of this was he just wanted to meet. He wanted to give the Raptors respect. He wanted to give Jerry West respect and Doc Rivers, and that's all this was. That's the garbage that you're going to hear. And then if it's not the Lakers, oh, well, something changed. Something changed because I was told this. Here's what we've heard. And then you just start to make up a bunch of stuff. And you can make it up because no one is privy to it, because you're not attaching anyone's name to it. I can make up all sorts of things and say, yeah, this person told me this, and they told me this, and they told me that. Because I don't have to say who the person is. Someone within the Sacramento Kings told me that De'Aaron Fox is a problem child. Oh, it's awful. I can say that. I can say that all day. Why? Because I didn't say who the person in the Sacramento Kings was. And they'll be looking around like, who told this idiot with a stupid-ass podcast that there's something wrong with De'Aaron Fox? Now they're looking within themselves like, where did this come from? But that's what you could do. You just make stuff up and then hedge your bets. Oh, De'Aaron Fox is a model child. Yeah, they had a talking to him. They sat him down and said, hey, De'Aaron, this is what we need you to do, man. And that cleared everything up. And now my bases are, now I'm covered. Now I'm clear. Now I'm clean. Now I'm good. That's weak, man. That's weak reporting. I admire the people who go on TV, and Woj has done it. A number of the most credible insiders have done it. I heard Chris Mannix talking this morning, too. I don't know what he was going to do. Woj was the one who said the other day, this may drag out for a few days. Like, don't expect it. He said on, I think it was Monday, don't expect to hear anything today. And I feel like he said the same exact thing yesterday. They may very well take their time. They may take their time through the holiday, through the weekend. They may actually wait for the new league year to start before they make their announcement. Kawhi Leonard is going to have everybody glued to their phones through the entire holiday season. He's going to have I say holiday season like it's Christmas, goodness gracious, through the holiday weekend. He's going to have every basketball fan glued to their phone through holiday weekend. Or he's going to announce it today. Who knows? I don't. I certainly don't know. But I know no information is coming from that camp. And when he's prepared to tell everyone who he's going to sign with, then we'll know. But there's not going to be, there's these leaks and all this speculation. These guys are guessing. Every single person who's saying he's already decided the Los Angeles Lakers is guessing, because the most credible people in the business are, they're just saying, I don't know. We have not gotten anything. So if guys like Adrian Wojnarowski and Sam Amick and Shams and Chris Mannix and all those guys are saying we've got nothing, but some kid with a Twitter account is saying, oh no, like this is what I was told, this is what I've heard. That's credible to you? Chris Broussard, who was on the most laugh-ass sports network in the country, he's credible? The guy who said Mark Cuban is frantically driving around trying to find DeAndre Jordan, that's credible? The guy who was hedging his bets with Kevin Durant going to Brooklyn versus staying with Golden State, that's credibility? None of that is credible. The most credible phrase regarding Kawhi Leonard is, I don't know. And that's where we are with Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. I'll tell you what I do know. This is the podcast with Damian Barling. It's presented by Vibe Health Bar. Recently voted best vegetarian restaurant in Folsom. Offers salads, wraps, sandwiches, superfoods, smoothies, acai bowls, and organic cold-pressed juices. Vibe Health Bar has locations in East Sacramento, Folsom, and Oak Park. For more information, stalk us at Vibe Health Bar. Also, while you're stalking out, people stalk me as well. Instagram, Twitter, at Damian Barling. Search Damian Barling on Facebook. Take part in the conversations that we got going there all day long. We're going to have them going all through the long weekend. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast, please do. Subscribe it, rate it. Some great reviews are coming in. I'm going to start sharing some of my favorite reviews on social media because you guys have gotten really, really creative with those, and I really, really appreciate that. It is a big deal, and I know I ask you to do it a lot, but it is a big deal, particularly on the Apple Podcast platform. But whatever podcast platform you're on, make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends about it. Share it on social media. Thanks to my man Chris, who kind of let me into the Sacramento Kings 6th man group and has let me share the podcast there. Ever since we started doing that, it's started to grow even more, so I appreciate that. Please keep it coming. And let's talk here about the Western Conference for a little bit, because that's really been the talk of free agency over the course of the last couple of days. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving headed to Brooklyn. It's been a part of the major news story. But in addition, everybody knows that Kevin Durant's not going to be around next year, so we can't even fully judge that move for an entire season. We can't get a grasp of where the balance of power lies in the league because we don't know where Kawhi Leonard is going yet. Because as we shake out this Western Conference, we still don't know if Kawhi is going to be on one of the teams in Los Angeles or if he's going to be back out east. What we do know is the Golden State Warriors finished number 1. They finished with the top seed of the Western Conference last year. We know that the Golden State Warriors won 57 games. And as we outlined just a few minutes ago, they're going to look drastically different. Klay's going to be out for the bulk of the year. Kevin Durant's not coming back at all. Andre Iguodala is gone. Kevon Looney is staying. Willie Cauley Stein has come in. D'Angelo Russell, who is just an entirely different player than anyone who has been a part of the Golden State Warriors through their 5-year run. He's on his way in as well. And it's difficult to remove a guy like Klay Thompson, even if at best bet you're removing him until post-All-Star break. And my belief is he should be out longer than that. But let's just say you remove him post-All-Star break, you bring him back in March. It's difficult to believe that team is going to maintain a 57-win pace without Kevin Durant. Granted, most of last year we were like, hey, what's wrong with the Warriors? Something feels off. This doesn't feel right for them. It doesn't feel destined that they're going to win this year. They just feel like they've had their moments. They had more losing streaks last year than I think they had in the previous 4. They had longer losing streaks last year than they had in the previous 4. So there was something there, and there was something to the Warriors being off. Whether it was the Kevin Durant leaving dynamic, or it was the relationship between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant, whatever it was, there seemed to have been something there. Or, as people have speculated, maybe it was just burnout. Is this Golden State Warrior team, with Klay on the shelf for a while and KD gone, are they rejuvenated? With D'Angelo Russell coming in, Willie Cauley Stein, particularly a different type of ball being played, are they rejuvenated? Now, hold on to that for a second. Denver, 54 wins last year. They're still young. They lost no major pieces. And Michael Porter Jr., who was the guy many thought entering the college basketball season 2 years ago, was going to be the consensus number 1 overall pick the year it was Deandre Hayden. Well, he's going to make his debut for the Denver Nuggets. There were times last year where the Denver Nuggets were sitting atop the Western Conference. Does anybody believe that they're going to regress and get worse? You've got the Portland Trailblazers there at 53. They went over minor changes. Obviously, Hassan Whiteside is coming in. They've got a few other things going on, but ultimately, CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard are still there. That coaching staff is still there. You've got the Houston Rockets at 53 wins. We'll talk about them here in a moment. You've got Utah, who is quickly becoming a favorite to win the Western Conference. They had what feels like a complete overhaul. It wasn't a complete overhaul, but it was with the exception of Mike Conley, who's not a subtle change. That's a big change. There were subtle changes all around that make you look at Utah and go, oh, wow. Okay, there's something here. They were good last year. They were 50 wins good last year. And they still got Quinn Snyder, who was a fantastic coach. And they still got Donovan Mitchell. They still got Rudy Gobert. They still got some things there that are really, really sexy. The Oklahoma City Thunder at 49 wins, San Antonio Spurs 48, and the Los Angeles Clippers at 48. That rounds out the top 8 teams in the Eastern. That rounds out the top 8 teams in the Western Conference last year. Now, as we start to look at the teams that didn't make the playoffs, of course, we have the Sacramento Kings, who finished with 39 wins and in the 9th spot there. Then you have the Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, they look completely different than they did. They had 37 wins. The Minnesota Timberwolves at 36. Memphis, 33. The Pelicans at 33. The Mavericks at 33. And then you got the Phoenix Suns way down there with 19 wins. Now, when we set out this project earlier this week, it was, convince me that the Sacramento Kings are going to make the playoffs. Not because of what you think about the Sacramento Kings offseason moves, not because of the growth that you think Marvin Bagley is going to have or Harry Giles is going to have. Convince me the Sacramento Kings are going to make the playoffs by convincing me who you're taking out. Convince me that a specific team isn't going to make the playoffs. And as I look at this, I started to realize Phoenix isn't competing for the playoffs, right? 19 wins last year. Should they be significantly better? Yes, but what's significant in their case? Maybe a +7, +8, somewhere around there. Like, they'll be better. They're not going to be 19 wins bad. But could they hover around 30? Sure. Do I expect them to be much more than that? Absolutely not. They're a young team that's got a lot of growing to do. I mean, imagine DeAndre Ayton making a big jump as a pro. They're going to be better. The question is, how better? I think another question would be, like we know Phoenix last year, they finished at the bottom of the Western Conference with 19 wins. What's the bottom of the Western Conference in this upcoming year? Because the fall from worst to second to worst, it's pretty large. The Mavericks had 33 wins, and they were second to last to Phoenix, who had 19. I don't think there's a team in the Western Conference anymore that's 19 wins bad. And I honestly feel like there's not a team in this conference that's, I mean, if it's still Phoenix, I feel like Phoenix is high 20s at the worst, maybe low 30, maybe 30, 31. Maybe that's a little high, but maybe, I don't know, 28 to 30 as I hedge my bets now. Now, I know the Mavericks are significantly improved. You got Luka there. You made some additions. You got Porzingis. They're going to make their debut together. You've got some things going on there. It's okay. Are the Mavericks competing for a playoff spot? In my opinion, no. Oh, let me rephrase that. Competing for a playoff spot, sure. Like, are they in the conversation late in the season? Sure. Are they in the conversation the last 2 weeks of the season? Maybe not. Maybe they're 1 year away from competing for a spot. The Pelicans, I think, of all of these teams that didn't make the playoffs, are the most intriguing. Not because of their free agent acquisitions like the Los Angeles Lakers, but because of David Griffin coming in, the complete roster overhaul. Anthony Davis is gone. You've got that behind you. You got Alvin Gentry in. You've given him the vote of confidence by extending him, picking up his option for the next year, which it's nice. It's a very, very nice gesture, but ultimately you can still fire him at the end of the season, and it just costs you 1 year's salary. But it is a very nice it's a very nice incentive. It's like, hey, coach, we believe in you. We think you're going to be able to do well here. And I still am of the mindset that Alvin Gentry is a good coach. I know he hasn't done a lot with his roster to show that, but I do think that he's good. And I think a lot of the roster issues and a lot of the issues with the New Orleans Pelicans relate more to their old general manager than they do to Alvin Gentry. But you got Zion Williamson, of course, now. He's kind of the star of all this, and you have a number of other young pieces. Well, they were 33 wins last year. Anthony Davis played through a portion of that. A pretty large portion, but, he was there. So where are the Pelicans in relation? Some people have the Pelicans making the playoffs. In the Western Conference, I don't think so. I'm fascinated by the Pelicans. I'll probably watch New Orleans a lot on League Pass. But playoffs, I'm not ready for that yet. And I'm not ready for the Memphis Grizzlies yet either. I like Ja Morant. I love the Memphis Grizzlies last year. The Memphis Grizzlies were a team I thought people were underrating way too much leading into the season. And they made me feel really, really good about myself at the start of the season. When they were, I think they held the one spot at one point, but they were as high as one, but they were frequently 1, 2, 3, 4. They were up there for a while, and then they weren't. And they just completely fell off. They had they just had a horrific losing streak. They had some infighting in the team with former Sacramento Kings, and it just didn't go well for them. And I don't think it's going to go well for them this year. I think they have a lot of growing to do, and I think that's the theme with some of these teams. That's the theme with the Pelicans. It's the theme with the Grizzlies. It's the theme with the Mavericks. It's the theme with the Suns. These young teams have a lot of growing to do. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't have growing to do, and I'm not willing to say they're going to make the playoffs because they have Karl Anthony Towns. Their main free agent target, to the best of my knowledge, their only major free agency target was D'Angelo Russell. That got taken from right underneath them. So right now we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4. We're up to our fifth team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, that didn't make the playoffs last year, and I don't think they're going to make it this year. Nothing about what the Minnesota Timberwolves have done this offseason has led me to believe that they're going to make the playoffs. And now we've already shrunk it quite a bit. And there was a long stretch last year where it was the Spurs, the Clippers, the Kings, and the Lakers competing for that last spot in the playoffs. And then the Lakers went away. And that's where we're at now, the Los Angeles Lakers, 37 wins. It's hard to believe that they're not going to be better. Not knowing where Kawhi Leonard lands, it's hard to believe that the Los Angeles Lakers aren't going to be significantly better and going to be a playoff team. Now, you could throw the injury question out, at the Lakers with what if something happens to LeBron James again? Is Anthony Davis going to be able to carry that team? What if something happens to Anthony Davis? Is LeBron James going to be able to carry that team? Again, none of this matters. I honestly thought when we planned this exercise that we would know where Kawhi Leonard is going to play. But since we don't, I still think the Lakers make the playoffs because we could play the injury game with any team. We could play it with a lot of them. Maybe not any team, but we could play it we could play the injury game with Portland. If Portland loses Dame Lillard, are they making the playoffs? We could play the game with the Houston Rockets. If the Rockets lose James Harden, are they making the playoffs? So we could do that with a number of these teams. But all healthy, the Lakers are in. Okay, so that means we have to remove somebody. And then now we're here with the Sacramento Kings at 39 wins. They finished in the 9th spot. They were competing up until pretty late in the season. So now you have to, you take the Lakers and you take the Clippers because of all of the teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. Those are the two, I think, that are most likely to make it this year. Obviously, the Lakers are, it's pretty comfortable to say the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. I know people love Dallas. I know people love these other teams. I'm not willing to give them that yet. I'm going to make them go through their growing pains. So who are we taking out? Well, again, we don't know where Kawhi is going to go. The Clippers had 48 wins last year. By the way, Patrick Beverley said on The Jump yesterday that the Sacramento Kings offered him 3 years, $50 million. That's $10 million more than he signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. So if you believe that, he really wanted to play for the Clippers. And I love that the Sacramento Kings went after him, won, and I love that the Sacramento Kings had a very clear commitment to defense. I hope that doesn't hinder what they do offensively, but it's clear they had a commitment to go get defensive players. And I love that. But the Clippers, 48 wins, with or without Kawhi. Are they making the playoffs? Like, can you say that the Los Angeles Clippers, whether they have Kawhi or not, are going to make the playoffs? You move up to the San Antonio Spurs, who also finished with 48 wins. Arguably their best player didn't play for them last year. DeJounte Murray will return. The Spurs haven't missed the playoffs in 20 years. We said this earlier in the week. There are some people listening to this podcast who have been alive during the entire stretch of the San Antonio Spurs playoff run. Are you willing to write them out? I'm not. I'm not going to be that guy. I'll wait for them to miss the playoffs before I'm willing to say, well, they're not going to make the playoffs. So I'm leaving San Antonio in. Clippers are on the fringe. I'm leaving San Antonio in. Now, here's an interesting one. Utah's in. Utah might be competing for the top spot. I think there are 3 teams that we're talking about who could fall out of the playoff picture. Portland, Houston, and, it hurts me, Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know why the Thunder are the way that they are. They won 49 games last year. There was a point where they were creeping around. Like, there was a point where I thought they were going to finish second. And then they just went through a brutal stretch where they were just awful. There was a stretch where it looked like they could fall out of the playoff picture shortly after the All-Star break. Never got that extreme. They strung together enough wins, again, 49. And I don't know what to make of them. They didn't do anything. They're in that cap hell that we keep talking about, or in that cap purgatory. There's nothing they can do. You can't really make acquisitions. You have to do the Golden State Warriors uber cap gymnastics that we were talking about before to be able to bring in a player of significance. I don't know why you can't get more out of Steven Adams. I believe that's a big 3. We love throwing the big 3 term around. I feel like Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Steven Adams should be considered a big 3, but Steven Adams doesn't always play like one. Sometimes Paul George doesn't play one. Sometimes Russell Westbrook doesn't play like one. Could that team be on the outs? Portland, same thing. Again, I'm trying to take injuries out of the equation. Because you put an injury on either one of those teams, a significant injury that knocks one of their stars out for the year. Like if you take Dame Lillard off the Trailblazers, I don't think they make the playoffs. And I think that's an easy conversation to have. Houston, I believe they're going to kill each other at some point. I'm all in. Weren't the Rockets? What happened to Jimmy Butler? How did that story just die? Wasn't Jimmy Butler their main target? How many people reported that the Houston Rockets, their target, they are going after Jimmy Butler? Who did anybody outside of the Houston Rockets entertain that? Did Jimmy Butler entertain that? I feel like Jimmy Butler has wanted to be a part of the Miami Heat forever. Who led the Houston Rockets to believe this was going to happen? Did Philadelphia even have a conversation with them about a sign and trade with Jimmy Butler? Because ultimately, here we are on, the Wednesday after the Sunday start of free agency, and the Rockets got nothing. So how do you feel about the Rockets heading into next year? You already know how I feel. I don't like them. I just don't like that team. I don't like anything about them. I don't like their whiny, bitchy-ass ways. I'm willing to say they're fighting for a playoff spot next year. So we've already got the Lakers in. Right? We've got to say the Lakers are in the playoffs. Who are we taking out? Some people don't think the Golden State Warriors are going to make the playoffs. I think that's a smidge bit extreme. But some people, Steph Curry, he's a two-time league MVP. Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year. Steve Kerr. We're going to find out. For those of you who don't think Steve Kerr can coach, we're going to find out this year. We're going to find out how good or bad of a coach Steve Kerr is. And I'm of the mindset he's a great coach. One of the best coaches in the league. And I think we're going to see that this year. He's kind of a disciple of Greg Popovich. One of the great things about Greg Popovich is he has the ability to adjust his offense based on his personnel. We saw that with the loss of Kawhi Leonard and centering everything around LaMarcus Aldridge. We saw that adjustment mid-season with the loss of Kawhi Leonard and everything shifting to LaMarcus Aldridge. Well, now we're going to have to see that from Steve Kerr. We're going to have to see him adjust the way that he plays because now he's got a ball-dominant guy in D'Angelo Russell. We hear so much about the pick and roll, and you're going to be able to utilize that now with D'Angelo Russell and Willie Cauley Stein. And, of course, you've got Steph Curry. You've got Draymond Green. And you've got the brand-new Chase Center. I think they'll be just fine. I'm not taking the Warriors out. But I've put the Lakers in, so I have to take someone out. And I don't know who to take out. I feel like it's Portland. I feel like it's either Portland or Houston. I'm taking them out over Oklahoma City right now. And Oklahoma City is going to be on the verge because, and maybe I'm ranking the Clippers too high. Again, I'm trying to do this with or without Kawhi Leonard. Maybe I'm ranking the Clippers too high. Maybe the Clippers just had something extremely special last year and they won't be able to replicate it this year. Maybe that's a possibility. Because if it is, I think we can now have a conversation about taking out the Rockets and the Clippers and inserting the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that's a legitimate conversation. I think that works. But you've got to find someone to take out. Portland, we've seen go through stretches where you just wonder, what are they doing? But they've never fallen out of it. Oklahoma City has fallen off the face of the map. The Houston Rockets started off of the map. Like they were above no one except the Phoenix Suns. And they fought their way back into the playoffs. So we've seen, with the exception of Denver, Golden State, Utah, they didn't have any ups and downs last year. They were mostly up. Now they, ebbs and flows a little bit, but no drop-offs. None. Houston, we saw start in a bad position. Portland, I don't even think they were, down. They were just a little bit all over the place. Oklahoma City, they fell to sixth. And the only reason that they were sixth is because they won a late game against the Houston Rockets, a late season game against the Houston Rockets. They would have been eighth. That's how close the Western Conference has been really, really close the last two seasons. Probably beyond, but it's been really, really close the last two seasons. So you've got to take teams out and put teams in. We'll get to some of your thoughts here on the Western Conference coming up in just a couple of minutes. Some other things I want to touch on before we do that. Ezekiel Elliott, he issued a statement yesterday. We had told you he was going to be meeting with Roger Goodell, and he did. He said he made a poor decision in Las Vegas and needs to work harder to put himself or keep himself out of such situations. His statement read earlier today, I met with the commissioner to share with him what occurred in Las Vegas and what I have learned from that incident. I've worked hard to make better decisions. Really. And to live up to the high standards that are expected of me. Really. I failed to do that here, and I made a poor decision. I apologized to Kyle Johnson, who's the security guard at the time, and I meant it. Remember, Kyle Johnson said he did apologize to him, and he doesn't believe that Ezekiel Elliott meant it. I think that was basically Ezekiel's way of saying, F you, Kyle Johnson, I already apologized to you. I'm not giving you another one. These statements are fine. Dude, Zeke's got some issues that he's got to figure out. That stuff he did, I think it was at Mardi Gras with the young lady in her top. He just makes poor decision after poor decision after poor decision. And now he's trying to be the latest running back to get the bag. And I've said Ezekiel Elliott is significantly more important to the Dallas Cowboys than Dakota Prescott is. Ezekiel Elliott is significantly more important to the Dallas Cowboys than Amari Cooper is. At the same point, if Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are hesitant to give Ezekiel Elliott money, I completely understand. Because this dude has had issues dating back to college. This dude had issues minor, major, minor. Like, he just keeps finding himself in stuff. Now, I still think that doesn't detract from the fact that I still think that him getting punished the way that he did for an alleged domestic violence situation was absurd. He was punished with absolutely zero evidence. None. So I'm not backing down on my stance. I think that's one of the worst, next to Deflategate, that's one of the worst punishments ever handed down by the NFL commissioner. And that's saying something, because the NFL had an investigator who investigated the case as an officer would. And they went back to Roger Goodell saying, hey, Raj, there's nothing here, man. Like, I've got nothing for you. I recommend you don't punish him because you don't have any grounds. I have no evidence. There is nothing in a court of law I could do with this, and there's nothing as your personal investigator I could do for this. Raj said, cool, thank you. Ezekiel Elliott is suspended 6 games. Oh, okay. This is one of the worst, but it doesn't detract from the fact that Ezekiel Elliott keeps finding himself in trouble. And that may be the sole reason that is going to keep him from getting a big money contract, because it's been seen in the win-loss total how important he is to what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. Another football story here. The NFL and the NFL Players Association are aimed at reaching a new collective bargaining agreement, and their conversations are they're going to get quite active here this month. They're hoping to get a deal locked in before the start of the 2019 regular season. That's funny. I would be stunned if they extended the collective bargaining agreement before this season started. The current CBA expires after the 2020 season, and virtually everyone on the planet believes there's going to be a lockout. These two sides have postured for the potential lockout for a year now. If they're able to get a new deal done before the start of this season, that is by far Commissioner Goodell's greatest accomplishment, because they're headed for a lockout. Not a lockout like it was last time. They're not headed to a lockout where they come back with, a month before the season, no regular season games are missed. They're not headed for a lockout like that. They're headed for a lockout that will change players' lives if they can get people to buy in. If they can the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, is by far the worst in all of sports. It's the worst because the discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots is massive. You see, we just talked about Willie Cauley Stein getting that league minimum, which was roughly league minimum, which was like $2 million. I mean, there are guys in the NFL who make a couple $100,000. And think about that as an NFL player playing for an organization that makes you billions and billions of dollars. So again, the difference between the haves and the have-nots is so great that the haves are, hey, here's what we need to do. And remember, it's the haves that are leading the Players Association. And they're the ones who want to fight the power against Roger Goodell. They're the ones who want to fight the power against the owners. They're the ones screaming for guaranteed contracts. They're the ones screaming, we're not going to an 18-game schedule. They're the one who's not saying you can't give us more real-life football. You can't give us more wild card games. You can't do any of that. We're not doing that. But then you have the have-nots who are like, dude, we need to play football. I'm voting for whatever collective bargaining agreement comes out because I don't have generational money. I barely have lifetime money. I got a 6-year career where I'm making about, before I have to pay my agent and taxes, $900,000. Cut that in half immediately. I'm making $400,000. That's a fine living, making $400,000. But you're only going to be able to do it for, remember, if you're a bottom tier, if you're that type of player who's making that type of money, if you're making near the league minimum money in the NFL, you're probably only playing a couple of years. So there's a reasonable line that you could say, I'm an NFL player. I was an NFL player for 3 years, and I never brought home a total of $1 million. Or I brought home just over a total of $1 million over my 3-year career, because my career is, your career in the NFL is too short. So the haves and the have-nots, the haves want to fight, and the have-nots can't afford to. So until they're able to get, and this is the difference, this is one of the major differences between the NBA and the NFL. One, the NFL is the league is the shield. It is the NFL. In the NBA, it's the players. And the players know that. The NFL has never allowed themselves, the NFL Players Association has never allowed themselves to be the league. They've never allowed Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning to be the league. The shield is the league, and that's evidence every February when the Super Bowl runs around. Because it doesn't matter who's playing in it. 90 to 100 million people watch. There are people saying, oh, I don't want to watch the Warriors again. Oh, imagine how bad the NBA Finals would be if it was, Milwaukee versus Houston. Like, no one was going to watch that. Or Toronto versus Houston. No one was going to watch that. Some people thought because Toronto and Milwaukee made it, because there was no marquee team, because it wasn't Philadelphia, because it wasn't Boston, because it wasn't a major television market, that no one was going to watch the NBA Finals. And there's probably some truth to that. You could probably measure, and I don't think there was this year, by the way, but I think you could probably measure a discrepancy between a fall off based on who's playing in the NBA Finals versus the fall off based on who's playing in the Super Bowl. People tune in to the Super Bowl because it's the Super Bowl, not because of who's playing in it. It's like, I'll use a wrestling example. It's like WrestleMania. Every year, WrestleMania goes on sale. Tickets for WrestleMania goes on sale in a major stadium in like August, September, somewhere around there. A solid 6 months before the event. You have no clue who's appearing. You have no clue what the main event is. And you have no clue at that moment that you're going to be in that stadium for 9 hours straight. But every year, it approaches a sellout on the very, very first day. It's because WWE and WrestleMania is the name. Super Bowl is the name. But in the NBA, it's LeBron, it's Steph, it's KD, it's Kyrie. That's why free agency is so fascinating. We're following the players as much as we are the actual teams. And until the NFL Players Association takes that approach, until they step forward and say, hey, you're nothing without Tom Brady. Hey, you're nothing without Drew Brees. I don't know that they'll be strong enough for a lockout. But my feeling has always been the stakes are so high for this upcoming collective bargaining agreement because of the guaranteed money coming in through streaming and because of the guaranteed money coming in through their television deals, that if NFL players were ever going to get guaranteed contracts, it's now. If the Players Association doesn't argue for guaranteed contracts now, they're never, ever, ever going to get them. Because can the NFL get higher than they are right now? I mean, people, like, they're on Amazon. They're on Twitter. They're trying to get the exclusive rights to Sunday Ticket off of DirecTV so everybody can get them. By the way, would that mark the end of DirecTV's business? DirecTV sucks. It is ass. And the only reason I have DirecTV is because of Sunday Ticket. Yeah, I'm one of the idiots that pays for Sunday Ticket. It's a write-off. At least it was. I hope it can be. I wonder if I can write off stuff for the podcast. Sorry. Thinking out loud here, but there's a lot on the line for the NFL and the NFL Players Association. And to say that they're meeting over July 17th, 18th, and 19th trying to get a deal done before 2019, to me, it's cute. It's a great story. If that happens, I will be shocked. As shocked as I was last night to see a Dodgers game end with 5 consecutive walks. They were trailing. The Dodgers were down by 1 with 2 outs in the 9th inning and no runners on. The Diamondbacks proceeded to walk 5 straight batters. It is the first time since 1920. Actually, it's the first time in the live ball era, which started in 1920. Because prior to 1920, it was the dead ball era. Could someone just shoot me a text and tell me what the dead ball era was, please? And what brought the ball to life? The ball sure feels like it's alive now. We'll get to that here in just a second. But never seen an ending like that. Dodgers down by 1, and they win after 5 straight walked back batters. Christian Yelich hit his 31st home run of the season in a 5-4 loss against the Cincinnati Reds yesterday. He is on pace to 60 home runs. He has the most home runs by a National League player before the All-Star break since Barry Bonds had 39 in 2001. Luis Gonzalez had 35 back in 2001. Albert Pujols had 32 in 2009. You got Christian Yelich now with 31. Barry Bonds again in 2003. He had 30 home runs. And Mark McGwire. So it's the most since 2009. Most since 2009. McGwire, Bonds, and Luis Gonzalez. I'm sure there's nothing. Someone's juiced here. It's either Yelich or the ball. And my belief is, and this is, I'm normally very much believing that all Major League Baseball players are on performance-enhancing drugs. I believe the baseball is on performance-enhancing drugs. Though the team that was taking advantage the most of these performance-enhanced balls were the New York Yankees. Their 31 straight games with a home run ended yesterday in a 4-2 loss to the New York Mets. The last time that the Yankees didn't hit a home run, the Toronto Raptors had just beaten the Milwaukee Bucks to win the Eastern Conference. Obviously, the NBA Finals hadn't started. The Stanley Cup Final hadn't started. And the Yankees' loss also snapped a 5-game winning streak that they had been on. Only their second loss in the last 15 days. You know what? All these home run hitters, Christian Yelich, all of those New York Yankees, those guys are athletes. They must be game-fit athletes. And if you're looking to become a game-fit athlete or you're just looking to get in great shape, check out my man Lem Adams over at GameFit. Follow him on Instagram. He's a great follow. You can get a really good feel for the type of business that he has over there at GameFit on Instagram. You can give him a call, 916-550-0658. Tell him you heard about him here on the podcast with Damian Barling. If you're an athlete, if you're a business person, if you're a man or a woman, you're an adult or a kid, it doesn't matter. They've got training for everybody. They've got sports-specific training. They got baseball players, football players, basketball players, even MMA fighters. Everything. If you're just looking to be in shape, you don't have to wait for the beginning of the year. You don't have to make a resolution. You don't have to do anything like that. Get in shape now. You'll see sports people there. You'll see TV personalities there. Some of my favorite TV crew goes there. You'll even see washed up radio show hosts like myself working out there. At GameFit on Instagram. Give them a follow. You can see what they're all about. It is intense, but it's the best training you'll ever get. I can promise you that. Give them a call again, 916-555. Nope, that's not the number. 916-550-0658. Again, 916-550-0658. I made a lot of mistakes today, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it's because I'm taking the next couple of days off. I thought, maybe if Kawhi Leonard announces his news on July, like we'll do an emergency podcast, no one's going to stop their barbecue to hear what the hell I have to say. We'll put out a podcast on Monday. Maybe Kawhi Leonard won't even make up his mind by Monday. You know what my biggest fear is, too, the last couple of days? Like, I was frantically. So the way this podcast works is I noted, we kind of start recording. The second the podcast is over, and as you've heard, like I've made about 10 mistakes here on this show, I don't go back and edit them out. I make a mistake. I'm human. I told you, I always try to treat this like a live radio show, because if I didn't treat this as if it was live, I would go back and make edits all day long and the show would never get posted. You have to love me for my flaws here. But the way that it works is I hit stop. I run it through this compressor to make it sound really nice for you. And then immediately I load it up onto the Omni platform where the website is. And then I type out the summary that you see there on podcasts and iTunes. My biggest fear the last 2 days is while I'm typing that summary before the podcast actually posts that the Kawhi Leonard news is going to break. That's been my biggest fear. Like, I don't know what I would do if the podcast was recorded but not posted yet. And it's a span of 10 minutes, but I need the 10 minutes to put that description together. I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would post it and then like do a second one, or if I would add to it. I don't know what I would do, but that has been my nightmare. It's a 10-minute nightmare every day so far this week. But like I said, I refuse to believe that anybody's going to stop their fireworks and their beer drinking and their cocktail drinking to hear what the hell I have to say about Kawhi Leonard. Unless, of course, Vlade Divac swoops in and Kawhi signs with the Sacramento Kings. Then I'll do an emergency podcast. But if not, go out there and enjoy your weekend. Have a blast. Enjoy, hopefully, some of you. I know by the post that I put on Facebook, not everybody has 4 days off. Some of you don't even have Thursday and Friday off. So go back and get caught up on episodes that you might have missed. But we'll be back Monday for sure. With the podcast there. Let's get to some of your questions. Gave everybody a homework assignment. Got a huge response to what we would do with the Western Conference. You can text your thoughts as always, 916-888-5898. Those texts come directly to me. Again, 916-888-5898. Steve said it was really difficult without knowing where Kawhi Leonard was going to sign, but he has the Western Conference as such: the Utah Jazz at number 1, the Denver Nuggets at number 2, Oklahoma City at number 3, the Los Angeles Clippers at number 4, the Rockets at 5, the Blazers at 6, the Lakers at 7, and your Sacramento Kings at number 8, which means he's left out the Golden State Warriors, who he has at number 9, and the San Antonio Spurs, who he has at number 10. Russ texted in. He kind of cheated, though, because he only sent me the top 5. He had Golden State still at number 1, the Utah Jazz at number 2, Denver, Portland, and Oklahoma City. Russ, you cheated. You had to fill out the top 8. Sarah, she went with Utah. I love this. Sarah went with Utah at number 1, the LA team that signs Kawhi Leonard at number 2, Denver, Golden State, the Rockets, then the LA team that doesn't sign Kawhi Leonard at number 6, the Sacramento Kings at number 7, and the Portland Trail Blazers at number 8. I think the Blazers are going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and I think the Rockets are as well. I don't think the Rockets are going to be finishing near the top of the Western Conference. A couple of questions before we get out of here. I'm headed to the California Classic today. I don't know what time you guys are listening to this, but if you're going to the matinee at the Golden One Center, come over and say hi. I don't know where I'll be. I'm just going to be a fan there. I'm going to be wandering around, probably looking for food or something. Hey, Damien, this is Jeremy from Elk Grove. How much do you think Igor Kokoskov was a factor in the signing of Rashawn Holmes? That's a good question, Jeremy. I don't know that he was an influence or a factor, but I have to imagine they talked to him. I mean, that would be a horrible that would be a horrible waste of a resource if you looked at it like Rashawn Holmes is on the market and you don't go to the coach who coached him during his most productive year as a pro. I have to believe that Vlade, if nothing else, at least talked to Igor Kokoskov about what he thought about Rashawn Holmes. And I mean, you can see the tape, you can see the film, you can see the numbers, but what you want to find out about a guy is, how is he in the locker room? What's his demeanor like? How does he feel? Can he adjust to the different roles? Does he talk about playing time? Does he not talk about playing time? Can we adjust? Can he adjust if he needs to start? Can he adjust if he comes off the bench? Like, what are we looking at with this young man? And I have to imagine that Vlade in that front office definitely went to him and asked him. Manuel, my man, asked me, this isn't even a question. He just said national radio keeps building up Willie Cauley Stein like he's an all-star that the Sacramento Kings didn't use right. These guys clearly never saw him play. Yeah, that's the way it's going to be. I mean, you can tell who watches Kings games and who doesn't. Again, I watched every Kings game last year. I've watched every Kings game for I don't know how many years. I think Willie can play. I don't know why he's so inconsistent. I honest to goodness don't. But there have been enough glimpses there for me to believe, okay, he can play. And I think there is something to I don't think Willie was inconsistent because the Sacramento Kings didn't utilize him right. I mean, I go back to the remark we made about Demarcus Cousins a few moments ago, in that everyone thought that Demarcus Cousins was hindering the growth of Willie Cauley Stein. And then Demarcus Cousins was gone and Willie Cauley Stein didn't grow. He was still kind of the in and out, inconsistent guy that we had seen. So, there's no one to place the blame on other than Willie Cauley Stein. Now, if he gets in a stable situation, he's obviously in a stable situation with Golden State. There's a great crop of coaches there. If they can pull something out of him that Dave Yeager couldn't, or any of the other Sacramento Kings coaches that he played for couldn't, great. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he eventually gets that bag of money that he wants. Because if he does, it means that he had earned it. And I want to see him do well. I absolutely want to see him to do well. Thank you for tuning in today. As always, thank you for tuning in this week. Thank you for continuing to spread the word. I know I ask a lot of you. The Patreon account is live if you want to support the show. We're going to have some more information on that in the weeks and days to come. Connect across all social media platforms. Damian Barling on Twitter, Instagram. Search Damian Barling on Facebook. Hit the like button there. We'll have some conversations going over there on Facebook as well, all throughout the holiday weekend. Be safe no matter what you're doing. If you're headed to the river, if you're just staying home, if you're heading out in traffic, whatever you're doing, just be safe. We want to make sure that each and every single one of you are back with us here on Monday. Will we know where Kawhi is at the next time we start talking? I don't know. I have no idea. And that's the beauty of it. You don't know. I don't know. And anyone who says they do, they're lying. Thank you so much. Continue to spread the word. Continue to rate, review, do all of that stuff. Just because we're gone for a couple of days, don't forget about us. If you missed any episodes this week, go back and listen to them. Who cares if it's old? Get caught up. It's the podcast here with Damian Barling. We'll see you next week.